expected. Our reporter Mcebisi Ngqina is at the Tsitsikamma Toll Plaza monitoring the movement of vehicles. Mcebisi, a very good morning to you. Has traffic started to pick up?
Morning, Desiree, and also to your viewers. Yes, indeed, the traffic has started pick up as early. I think the time we arrived here in this border post, it was just after 7, but there was already a high volume of vehicles, especially trucks that were traveling from the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape. If you know, this border post actually separates the two provinces, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, and there's been a lot of activity that has been happening. As you know, that this is the last day of the open 7-day window for people to travel to other provinces, especially those people that will be returning to work in those industries that have been earmarked to open during level 4. But to talk more about what has been happening, especially on the road in this province, but now I am actually joined by the MEC for transport in the province, MEC Mcebisi. Ma'am, good morning and also welcome to Agenda. How has it been with this 7-day window period so far in the province?
Good morning and good morning to the viewers. Let me say the 7-day period was very hectic. Hectic for all the law enforcement agencies and also for the travelers because they were on queues, being screened, and they were panicking. That was the problem. Today or this morning, we are in the border and there's inter-provincial operations from both the law enforcement agency from the Western Cape and the law enforcement agencies from the Eastern Cape side, joined by the members of the South African Defence Force. It's very busy. During the last 12 hours, people who have entered into the Western Cape are 1,400 and towards the Eastern Cape side is 1,600. They were all screened. Those who are entering the Eastern Cape, 64 people have been tested for those who are entering the Eastern Cape. And last night, one man who was smuggling dacha towards the Western Cape side, weighing 63 kilograms, was arrested. Those were 2 men. It was a second arrest because 3 men were arrested in the last 3 days smuggling dacha to the Western Cape side. That's the progress which is taking place here. We are expecting a number of vehicles, but what is encouraging is that the passengers who are in these vehicles are complying. They are on their mask. They are wearing their mask. That is what is encouraging. And our law enforcement officers and health practitioners are doing their work of screening people who are passing through.
You talk about the issue of screening and testing in these roadblocks, but the news that we got this morning, last night from the health department in the province, that 34 people that had traveled from the Western Cape to the Eastern Cape have actually tested positive for COVID-19. Then how did these people manage to pass through these borders? Are these screening and testing effective here?
You will remember that we've been complaining that there was no active participation of enforcement officers, both the health practitioners and our law enforcement officers in the Western Cape side. They started to work when we are in the borders of the Eastern Cape. We've been saying we're having all 7 borders entering the Eastern Cape, and in those borders, all those borders are being manned by police and traffic officers. This is one of the borders, and we've been saying there are those who are returned back to the Western Cape, but those who have been tested are those among those people. There were those who were tested positive. As I'm saying, more than 1,600 entering Eastern Cape were screened yesterday, but 64 of those were tested. We are waiting for the results. Therefore, we are worried because number of people who are coming to the Eastern Cape are always tested positive, some of the people among those.
But if you are worried, ma'am, is there no possibility that if you are testing these people that are coming from the Western Cape, after you have tested them, while they are still waiting for those results to be quarantined in some places? Because the problem now with these 34 people, they need to be traced again. They are nowhere to be found. And also, we don't know how much people they have infected in this period.
Department of Health and Public Works are working on that information which they receive. They are the ones who are responsible for quarantine and also streaming. The information is that whenever after we've tested, submission is made to them for them to take the decision on what to do on the people who have been found positive and what can be done.
Another problem is from the side of the taxi drivers that people have been complaining about, that these taxi drivers are inflating prices to make sure people that they pay for those empty seats that no longer have people sitting on them during this lockdown period. Is it something that your department is dealing with that problem?
The department is receiving information through our call center, through calls which are directed to me, and we are working on that information. We are working with the leadership of the South African National Taxi Council, the Eastern Cape side. They are reprimanding their members. This morning I received a call that taxis it is not happening only from the taxis which are coming towards the province, but even within the province. This morning I was informed that the fares from the Grahamstown to King Williamstown have been increased by 20 rand. It was 80 rand, but now it's 100 rand. We are following that up.
And lastly, the Premier of the province, Oscar Mabuyane, has instructed Treasury to investigate your department in terms of the procurement of sanitizers, the expenditure on the Tsandane funeral, and also the usage of a lodge apparently owned by your daughter. As the political head of that department, are you not concerned then if the Premier can actually instruct your department to be investigated?
I welcomed the decisions of the Premier. I still welcome those because the Premier of the province have done something which was never done by anyone, because there's no one who formally submitted the complaint to her written submission, and there's no one who went to law enforcement agencies to report a case about the department. I can say he is really working for good governance, hence we welcome that. My department will cooperate on the allegations. As I've indicated earlier on, I've declared that I'm having a daughter, and unfortunately it was not myself who contracted them. It was Department of Public Works as a person who is having a business, but investigation must be done for any wrong and the report be presented. But personally, as the family, we've taken a decision that we must open a case for criminal injury with the police. That have been done immediately after the 26th, and submissions were made yesterday. Filing was done in the High Court in East London yesterday for defamation of my character. And we appointed a PI to investigate the source of those allegations. That's what I can say. But the department will cooperate with all the investigation which will take place.
And where are these allegations coming from if there's no criminal charge that has been laid?
That's what I'm saying, that it's a... I'm praising the Premier for doing that. It's a good step and a bold one to take information from social media and investigate. It's a proof that he is willing to fight corruption as he committed, and he is working towards clean governance in the province.
Okay, thank you so much. That was the MEC for transport in the province, Tsitsikamma. Just talk about some of the activities or things that they will be doing to make sure that people who are actually coming from the side of the Western Cape or anywhere, that they will be screened and get tested before they enter this province, to make sure that those people that are coming from the outside of this province, they do not infect the resident of the Eastern Cape. But from my side and my colleague Zobani Blom, back to you in studio.
Thank you so much there for that update.